what is causing, or what maybe are some of the causes of the anxiety, of the mental health struggles that a lot of people face today?
Well, what this model of therapy believes is it really does come down to that core belief. So if I feel not good enough, not important, not valued, I'm not going to be very content with myself. I'm not going to have a lot of confidence. I'm not going to believe in myself. And so one of the big symptoms of a core belief not good enough is higher anxiety. Anxiety is actually lack of confidence, not believing in yourself that you can handle something. A lot of people think anxiety is about the trigger. I have anxiety, social anxiety, being around other people. Well, if it was really about socializing, everyone would have that. Not everyone does. So anxiety is not believing in myself I can handle it. So if I don't believe I can handle socializing, I'm going to have social anxiety. If I believe I can handle socializing, I'm not going to have anxiety. So anxiety is the opposite of confidence. The more confidence I have, the less anxiety. So if that core belief is not good enough, I'm going to have more self doubt. I'm going to have higher anxiety. So we need to challenge and change at that core belief level, not just at the anxiety level. We just can't challenge the anxiety, but don't address the core belief underneath it. It's going to be this thing that's going to keep reoccurring forever and ever and ever.
I remember a time in my life where I suffered from something like that, and it was because I didn't believe that I was going to succeed in life. And I became anxious. And I wonder how many people out there in their teens, in their 20s, who suffer from the same anxiety and they don't have the guidance. Because I'll tell you something, Sabrina, I definitely didn't have the knowledge to be able to handle it. Like a lot of people in their teens, we think we do. We're arrogant enough. We have the arrogance of wisdom, but we don't actually have the wisdom. So if it's a
Right.
core belief, then what can we do at the different stages in our life to address the core beliefs so they don't become anxiety, but we can turn them around into confidence?
I think the very first thing we have to do is become aware of how significant that core belief is and how often it does actually kind of pop up and drive our actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, our perceptions. When I talk with my clients, they'll come in and they say, I need counseling because I struggle with marijuana, or I have anger issues, or I can't sleep properly, or whatever it might be. And when we talk about how those are really the symptoms of something else, that core belief, they often say, "Yeah, I never realized that's what it was, but that is what it is." So if I'm not even aware, I don't even know I should change it. I'm not going to be able to change it. So part of what we have to do first is become aware of how often does that core belief pop its head. It can be varying degrees. Some people's core belief is, pretty good enough, important, and valued, but every once in a while, that not good enough pops up. Other people feel not good enough, not important, not valued, extremely intensity all the time, all day long. So you have to figure out where yours is, and then you can start to challenge it. But if you don't really know where your core belief is, it makes it really hard to do something about it. People ask me, well, how old are you when your core belief gets starts to develop? The truth of the matter is, it honestly starts before you're even born. If we look at
So
parents,
no, I was gonna say, like, because you're about to mention parents, so continue with that before you're even born and then the parents themselves.
yeah. So if I have two parents whose core belief is not good enough, how can they have a child who believes they are good enough? It becomes really, really challenging. And so we see this happening generationally where it just kind of gets passed down, right? If I have a parent who has high anxiety, they are teaching me to have anxiety about all these things that, um, all the things that the parent has anxiety about. I'm going to think, well, if my mom or my dad can't even deal with this, I can't deal with it. And so it gets this learned core belief, it gets passed down. It's not genetic, it's learned, but it's learned right from before we're even born.
So could that be then if let's say you have a child that is being raised in a household that is abusive, or maybe there's a lack of parenting that can heighten the anxiety, and further provide that child with core beliefs that would not be beneficial to their life.
That, excuse me. That's exactly right. Children who grow up in a home where there is abuse, excuse me, where there's abuse, where there's volatility, where there's chaos, where there's neglect, where there's addictions. What's the message? You're not good enough. You're not important. And so they get more and more anxiety because their sense of safety is being impacted on a regular basis. That's going to create more of that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued. So then they end up kind of feeding off each other in this cycle where, my parents yelling at me, I feel not good enough. So then I do something to kind of reinforce that. And then my parents get mad at me again. And the cycle just keeps going and going and going and going. Then I move out, not even living at home anymore. But that pattern of thinking is in my brain. Now I'm drawn to people, places, experiences. I'm putting myself in situations where I can continue to feel that same way. Feel fear, feel insecurity, feel neglect, feel abandoned, feel insecure. I'm drawn and will create those things over and over and over again.
I remember talking to someone and she was sharing that she had a rough childhood, but it became better because I guess the parents realized what was going on, so they started to make changes. But unfortunately for her, it seemed like it was a little later than it would have benefited her. So what she did is she started to look for love, attention in all these different ways, right? And then I took a step back and then I asked myself, I wonder how this these core beliefs, this anxiety, this lack of mental fitness impacts women and impacts men. Because you would see that maybe a lot of men, when they're not necessarily getting what they need growing up, a lot of them turn to anger, to violence, and things like that, right? Women, on the opposite side, a lot of them turn to being promiscuous, seeking attention from men. Do you know how it impacts men and women maybe differently and similarly?
Yeah, I think we have to be careful because, everyone is so different, but it is more socially acceptable for men to be angry. It's been going on for, the warriors and, it's just be tough, suck it up, push all that other emotion down. When we really look at what anger is, it is what we do to avoid feeling other emotions. So, what we say about anger is it's not a standalone emotion. If you think about a time in your past where you felt angry and stopped and thought about what other emotions were underneath there, you would likely see things like anxiety, fear, self doubt, lonely, abandoned, rejection, unheard, unloved, vulnerable, fear. We don't like to feel those emotions. So when they start to come up, switch it to anger. Now all I have to do is just get angry. I can push all those other emotions down. So anger is an emotion, but it is also a significant coping strategy that we use to avoid dealing with those other emotions that we don't want to deal with. The other thing anger does is it also suppresses that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued. But then after I'm angry, then I feel bad because I got angry, I damaged relationships. I get to beat myself up even more, supporting that core belief, not good enough, not important, not valued.